How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Monsters. This is Season 1, Episode 17, and this one's entitled Taps. The episode originally aired March 4th, 1989, was directed by David Misch, and stars Mary Jo Keenen, Neal James, and as a special guest star, we have Frazer. Now, this episode I really did like. It had a good, dark sense of humor behind it, and to be honest, it felt less like a Monsters episode and more like a low-budget Tales from the Crypt episode. I mean, you have a lot of the tropes there. The idea that there's this person who killed someone and now she's trying to get away with murder, and just a bunch of darkly comedic jokes. For real. There is a ton of puns in this episode, and I think a lot of your enjoyment of this episode may be just how well you can handle puns, because, boy, this throws them out there like a mile a minute. You know, you have this girl, and she's cutting up a dead body, and you get lines like, well, I have to give you a hand there, you know, holding up his hand, or who would have thought your decision would cost you an arm and a leg? And then later on in the episode, I've never seen a man go to pieces quite like that. Just constant puns. But, I mean, that's classic anthology horror stuff, you know? Every single horror host on the planet always loves them some good puns, and to see an episode just riddled with puns and dark humor, it honestly caught me off guard quite a few times, and it did get quite a few laughs out of me. But also, it's not just the humor, but what this episode is about, which I guess is part of the humor. But when it's revealed what the monster of this episode is, I'm like, whoa, that's the monster. That is such a strange and bizarre idea. And then it didn't end where I thought it would. I was like, okay, this is gonna be a tap dance version of the Telltale Heart or something. But no, it ends on a super striking visual, which, okay, is highly improbable, sure, kind of silly, sure, but just so creative and shocking, and it's so bizarre. I absolutely love how this one ends. It just follows these weird notions and executes them with a great sense of humor. It's really cool, don't get me wrong. It is kinda stupid. I will grant you that. But it's stupid in an entertaining and creative way. And it's like, hey, remember the episode of Monsters where the monster is just this? Yeah. And then it ends with that? Yeah, no, that is, it's fun. I like this one. And also, on a side note, a bottle episode. One set, 3 actors, pulled off a whole story. Always gotta congratulate when you learn how to make your budget work, you know? But anyway, I guess in order to do a further analysis, let's go ahead and talk a bit about the plot. I'll try to be avoiding major spoilers, so I won't say like what the creature is, but I do want to dig down, do a bit of analysis, so no major spoilers, but let's go ahead and dig in. We open up with this couple, and you see they're not only partners in real life, but also dance partners, but she wants to break up with him and go to Hollywood to be a movie star instead. And we get the first of many jokes, you know, you said it would be forever. Well, 6 months, okay, I was a little off. But I do have to say, this whole Broadway thing, and this is a little bit of a side note, yeah, I never got being big into Broadway, because I knew people growing up that were, and I'm like, man, I can't always afford to go to the movie theater, and that's way cheaper and just down the street. How are you going to New York so often that you have legitimate opinions on Broadway? Yeah, I never got it. I like when things are movies a lot better. Although, maybe it's best we don't turn Broadway hits into movies. But anyway, she wants to leave him, and he just wants them to dance together forever and ever and ever. And to be honest, he is being a real creep. This is, you know, classic anthology horror. maybe there aren't really any good people in this relationship. But the idea is that because he's managing the show, he has her under contract. So even though she has this opportunity in Hollywood, she may not be able to break the contract and may not be able to leave the show, and that's going to be tough for her. The agent comes over and she starts venting about these problems, and she says, the only way he would let me go is if he was dead. And then she gets that look in her eye, and it's super obvious that she just had the idea to murder him. And it's done in such an over-the-top cartoony way. Again, really, really funny. So he comes over right after the show, she poisons his drink, and after one last dance, he starts to die, but he doesn't die quick enough, and she has to defend herself by beating him over the head with this trophy, and she goes, oh great, it will never pass off as natural causes now, which I guess she planned on the poison resembling a natural cause enough or something? I don't know. I know there are a few things like that, but anyway, now she has to dismember the body, and as I said earlier, a ton of puns tied to this scene, but also a bunch of bloody limbs. I'm surprised they could get all that on TV back in the day, but a good, gory, macabre sequence that's handled with a ton of humor, and we even get these scenes where she's in a costume just looking at the camera, and it's like her fantasizing in her head ways that she could get out of this if she was to be questioned. And they're silly, yeah, but they reminded me of something that Creepshow might do, you know? These kind of weird side scenes. And yeah, I think it is, you know, kind of funny. And I love how, even when it gets dark, it really keeps up the humor. I won't say too much of what happens next, but we do get a bit of a time jump to after she's a more successful actress. And I think they described the movie that she was in, and it's kind of funny, the plot of the movie that she was in mirrors the episode My Zombie Lover, which I think was the same director, so a fun little Easter egg callback there. And of course, we will get this episode's monster, because every episode of Monsters has to have a monster, and I was thinking I knew what it would be, but then it wasn't, and I was thinking I knew where it was going, and then it wasn't. And yeah, okay, some of how this one ends is silly. I will grant that. But it's such a good, classic, over-the-top horror silliness. And I loved it. Keeping the attitude up the whole time, keeping the humor going, you know, getting some really good, over-the-top, silly characters. You know, as I said before, old-timey humor doesn't always hold up, so I'm always appreciative when we get a funny episode that does, and I just really enjoyed this one. So anyway, definitely recommend it. To everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Monsters playlist where you can see me talk about past episodes of the show. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.